Hey fam, happy Saturday. Welcome to the Sky Lila experience, or welcome back. It is Sky. It's February 18th, 2023, 8:15 p.m. on a Saturday night. I'm currently in the bath. So I'm recording it because one, I felt inspired to, so therefore I'm acting on that. And two, it was Allexanne's birthday yesterday. And I thought about recording a podcast yesterday, but it was a little too emotional for me. So anyways, I'm doing it today. What I wanted today to be about in honor of her, but also to take away what I learned from it and just share the story after 3 years, because my cousin passed away July 4th, technically 2019, and I shared a lot of blogs throughout the process, like over the past 3 years, but I've never necessarily done an overview. And I feel like during that time, you guys, so much happened. It was so intense. Every week or every month or even a year later, you'd find out new news or information. It was like, are you serious? Anyway, so now I can kind of take you all the way back over the whole thing to date, at least, and share the story and what I learned from it and how it affected me. So Allexanne, my cousin, she would have been 32 yesterday, grew up with us. She lived in our house. She was basically another sister. We were all very close. She came on family vacations. She was there for my graduation, all the art shows, every summer. At some point, she went to go live with her dad in Texas, but we were all still very much a family. So I'm going to take it back a few more years just so you know what the past 6-7 years was like. It was wild. So basically, what was it? Maybe 2016 or 2016 or 2017, like 6 people in our family died. In more of our extended family, so my mom's cousins, my mom's aunt, uncle, my grandpa passed away. There's a lot of people. So my mom was grieving. And then a year later, my aunt died, Allexanne's mom, which was a lot. And I swear, for like a year or two, whenever Tasha would call my sister, I would jokingly, but also kind of seriously answer the phone being like, who died? Because I swear, so many people were just dropping. So that happened. And then we wanted Al to come back with us after her mom passed, but she went to go to her dad in Texas. So there was that. And then June 27th, 2019, my mom called me at 2:30 in the morning. She was in Hungary at the time. My dad was in Toronto, and she was like, Allexanne's in the hospital. Go to LA now. And I thought, well, I've got a client at 6 o'clock, and then I've got class at 10, and then, I had a full day of work. She's like, don't think. Go wake up your siblings. Book a flight right now. Just go. Like, don't think. Just go. Because I don't know. I guess it's really hard to comprehend what the actual situation is. It just doesn't make sense. Also, though, when someone's in the hospital, you're not really considering the fact that they're like they could actually die. So we book a flight at like 4 a.m. Start driving to Bellingham, my sister and I, like 4:15 or something. I don't know. It was like really fast. This all happened really fast. So we get there at 6 a.m. The flight was at 7. We have a drink because it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and we were just bawling. And on the way there, I was driving, and there were puddles, and my sister was like, be careful, people who are going through this are vulnerable. And I'm like, I'm not a victim. I will not have a victim mindset. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like, I just want to accept that reality for myself, that, take it easy on myself because I'm going through something. Now I look back at it, it's like, that's so silly. Actually, be realistic. I was going through something, so that's totally fine. And then my car, swerved a bit as I went through the next puddle, and I was like, oh shit, okay, she's right. I really got to focus here. Just take a deep breath. And what was fascinating too was my playlist at that time were all songs that were like, I'm not all right, Before You Go, Don't Go, all these songs that I didn't register what the lyrics were or what the titles were for a week or two before that date. All of a sudden we were driving in the car to Bellingham, and the songs were so sad because you're actually listening to them, and it's like Kiss Me Before You Go, or like Don't Let Go. And it was like, holy shit, Al, don't let go. Like, oh my God, don't let go. And then another one, I'm not all right. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I'm not all right. So we get to the airport. We're bawling. Then we go straight. We just shared a carry-on suitcase. We went straight to the hospital with our suitcase. This scene was a movie. It's actually ridiculous in how just wild it was. And I can't believe I experienced it, and I haven't thought about it a lot because it's not enjoyable. So like, why think about it? But unless I'm reflecting on it, then I will sort of dive into it and take away what I learned from it. And there's so much to it. Okay, so we get to the hospital. We go into the ICU. She's hooked up to so many machines. I've never seen anything like it. Like half the room was machines and then her bed, and you could barely see her because she was just all wrapped up in everything. And I'm there, my sister and I are there, and we're sitting in the corner, like sharing a seat because her dad was there, her stepmom, her boyfriend, her other cousin. And it was literally like you were watching a Grey's Anatomy scene where I felt like there was this wall between me and the rest of the room. And we just sat back, and obviously we were silent because we didn't know what was happening for the past 2 days. And we were just listening to the doctor talk to her dad and her boyfriend. And like, her dad was really calm and her boyfriend was freaking out, like super jittery and just like couldn't stand still. And it just seemed like every character was in the room. So we're there for the day, in shock. We leave, so we let the other family have some privacy. Thank God, my best friend from high school, Catherine, her mom lives in LA. She used to live in LA, but she was at school in San Fran at the time. So we went and stayed with her mom, and her mom took such good care of us. And she had dinner and snacks and wine, and just was super sweet, and exactly what we needed at that moment was like someone to just take care of us because we could not think. So we went for a walk, literally with our hospital visitor sticker still on our sweaters, absolutely bawling, kind of laughing, just delusional. And I had photos, and what's crazy to look back at them is we were smiling in them, but our like smiling under the palms because her mom Samara loved palm trees, so it's always like, oh, under the palms. But our eyes are so puffy. But like, if you didn't know, you'd think we were happy. Where that's why I think it's so important to be kind to everyone. Just because someone's smiling means absolutely nothing. Like, they literally could have left the hospital, or someone so important to them is dying, and they're just like, personally, I laugh about things when I'm like, my reaction is laughter. Like when I'm crying or whatever, like I kind of laugh about it. When I'm uncomfortable, I laugh. Like everything, I just laugh. So we went for a walk. Came back, then we went back out again to Venice Beach. Okay, this part was crazy. We were literally screaming at the ocean, being like, Allexanne, please wake up. You know, this is not funny. We're here now. That was one side note before when we first went. It's amazing. It was a very humbling experience because I like to think I have a really strong power of thought, which I do. But I think when it comes to a life or death situation, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not my path. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't influence her path. But I genuinely thought, okay, she just needs us to like hold her hand. She'll know we're there, and then she can wake up because we're the closest people to her. We're her sisters. Everything's gonna be fine. We get there. Obviously, nothing happens. We go to the beach, screaming at the ocean, being like, Allexanne, please wake up. Like, God, Lord, whatever higher spirit energy is up there, like, please help. And then we went to a little bar. And it's so wild because you're watching everyone else having fun. And I just felt so disconnected from the world. Like, it felt like I wasn't really there and I was just watching this whole movie. But my physical body was moving through it. It was reality. It was my life. But understanding one side of thing now changes my perspective to literally everyone around me, because I feel like I'm very understanding when I'm driving. If someone cuts me off or does something, it's like, you know, some people get road rage, but I'm like, what if they literally are coming from the hospital or rushing to the hospital? Like, we have no idea. I know when I was driving, I definitely was not driving my best after she passed. Like, I had some sketchy moments where I was like, oh shit, this really is a thing. Like, I'm not really with it. And so then we're there being like, this is all a joke, right? So then we go back to the hospital, like 11 o'clock at night, because we just needed to be with her. And I was on the floor laying down because I was tired, just holding my hand up, holding her hand. My sister was on the other side of her, holding her hand. And then every 20 minutes, I would just switch my hands because I was basically falling asleep. It was like 1 or 2 a.m. by this point, too. But I just didn't want to let her go, so I just kept holding on and, like, switching my hands. As one arm started to tingle, then I'd switch it to the other one. And her stepmom was super sweet and came at, like, 1 or something and gave me a pillow and a blanket. And Tasha was just whispering, like, talking to her, genuinely having a conversation, just basically telling her to wake up or something along those lines. I was kind of out of it at this point. Then her father came and we left to give him some time. Then, now, some of the stuff, I don't know, it's kind of weird to share, but whatever. Her dad told us not to come back. I don't know what's up with him, and that I don't even know, and I'm not going to get into that side of things because it makes me so furious inside. But it just honestly confuses me. Like, I don't understand. I just can't understand his thought process. And so then the next day, well, Tasha was supposed to go away that weekend for her, like, annual Hornby trip, and thought, well, we couldn't go back to the hospital, so she may as well go home, so at least she didn't miss that and could be kind of distracted for the week with her best friends. But since we drove to Bellingham, the flights are only every second day, so I was like, okay, well, I'll stay because I need to fly back to Bellingham to get my car. So I stayed at Heidi's house and went for a walk from Venice Beach to Santa Monica Pier, and just got drunk along the way. Like, I think I had a coffee or something, and then I went into, like, they sell alcohol in the little, basically 7-Eleven corner stores there, right? And I literally did not know what to do with myself, you guys. I can't even remember it now. Like, I just remember being in the bathroom pouring this alcoholic beverage into my coffee cup because I was like, I guess it's just too hard to handle. So I kind of needed to numb the pain. Anyways, that's what I did. Got to Santa Monica Pier. Again, everything just felt like a movie. It was like all this stuff was happening around me and I was just floating through it all. And, like, I even wondered if people could see me. Like, it was like, is this all real right now? You know, is it real? How do you know? What is life? What's reality? And what's a dream? And what's your mind? Like, what is it? So my mind, this is where my mind is the whole time, contemplating that kind of stuff. And Tasha was on the island. My mom was in Hungary. My dad was in Toronto. My brother was home, but whatever. So I called he wasn't my boyfriend at the time, but my ex-boyfriend, because he did text me on the way on the airplane, being like, hope you're, I'm, like, here for you if you need it, because I was supposed to have an acting class that day, but I canceled it. And I told my acting coach, well, what was happening, and she was very much more than just a coach, because she also used to be my aunt's acting coach, and that's actually, like, when she was young and was friends with my grandfather. So anyway, so I guess she told him, and he called me or texted me, and so then I was on the pier, and I called him, and I was like, I can't handle this. And I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I genuinely don't know what to do with myself. So I spent the rest of the day just having a day, and then flew back to Bellingham, drove back to Vancouver on the Sunday. So what was this? This might have been like 29. I don't know, I think towards the end of the week when we got the news. So basically, from that point on, for at least 2 months, I pretty much lived at this now guy was my boyfriend. And he was great. I'm so grateful for him because he took care of me and was there for me. And I was probably crazy because I was grieving and didn't know how to do that. But I did notice that, one, I had basically a drink every day for 2 months. Not a lot. Like, I literally just had one cooler at night and he was like, don't worry, I think you're allowed. Like, you're going through a lot. It's totally fine. So I did, and that's when I recognized how easy it is for people to become alcoholics, because it just takes it away, and like you feel this little cloud lift up from above you each night, and you're like, oh, it's not the end of the world. And I also noticed that I kind of avoided going home, not consciously, but now that I've had time to reflect on it, I think because everyone in my house was grieving, it was just such a depressing environment. Not that like we were all openly super sad. Well, yeah, I guess, I don't know, we're all very productive people, so we tend to just do a lot. But it just like, I don't know, it was too hard being home. At least I was kind of distracted for like 2 months, and then September came around, and I thought, okay, I really gotta get back on my life. And that was good. All was well. How did she die? Honestly, we don't know. They've said there's been stuff, but we don't think that's true. I'm not going to get into that because it's kind of a sketchy story, to be honest. And yeah, that's another thing. So maybe a couple months go by. I remember trying to write blogs to like share it, to help others heal through whatever, and just be like, you're not alone if you're going through this, or if you have, and I understand. But it took me months to like actually share something, because every time I started writing, I'd just start crying, and it was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then even when I was writing blogs, the songs I would be playing is I'm Not All Right. And I remember writing like, you know, obviously I'm a very productive, healthy person, and I have really healthy tools, which are great, and I run a lot, and I remember trying to be like, you know, I'm okay, this and that. And then the song that was playing was literally called I'm Not All Right, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna lie here, you're right. I'm not that I'm lying to anyone else, but I was kind of fooling myself, so I just was open about that. I was like, I'm actually not all right inside, and it's very depressing, and I'm super sad. So then January 1st or something, or 3rd, the storage, her and her mom's storage, was up, and her dad didn't want to renew it, so he said, you know, come go through their stuff, otherwise it's all gone in like a week. And so my mom and I flew down to LA, forget what everyone else was doing. This time too was interesting because I almost kind of not blacked out, but just like got in the zone. We went through, my mom and I spent 3 days, maybe we only had 3 days to go through the storage unit. We spent 3 days going through every single thing, either giving away what we could, throwing out what was not necessary, like all of Allexanne's textbooks, and not textbooks, but like notes from university, where that had a big impact on me, because I realized this is what happens if you die. Like, a lot of stuff just gets thrown out. So all the stuff that I keep, for me, say all my old high school or nutrition books and notes and this and that, it's like, I gotta do something with that so that it can live on, instead of it just getting thrown out eventually. That's also why I like to blog, because at least then, instead of just journaling, like I journal for myself and I reflect on things, but I like to share what I learn on to help others. And then I don't even think she had this ASU keychain. She went to ASU, and that's the only thing I took, because this was also when I had just gotten home from Australia, and because I had lived with like one suitcase for 8 months, when I came back from that, I already was like, I don't need things. Like, I just managed to live almost a year, or I forget exactly how long I was gone for, but with barely any clothes, and I was fine. Like, you don't need as much as we have. So I remember when I got home from Australia, I literally wanted to throw everything out. I was like, I haven't touched this in a year. I don't need it anymore. But then I also had another reflecting time. I was like, hey, you're Sky, you're allowed to have like multiple changes of clothes and winter stuff and summer stuff. Like, it's fine. You can keep your belongings. So when we were cleaning out the storage, I didn't take anything. I wish I did now. but at the time it was like, this is all just stuff. Like, I have photos of her and I have her in my memory, and I took that keychain and I put it on my keychain. So I've had that on there for years. And I didn't even think I'd cry throughout those 3 days. It was only when I got home that I actually digested everything. I was like, holy shit, we just like cleared out what was the rest of them. Like, this is crazy. And then it also was like all of their things, it's just in this one storage unit. Like, it's so bizarre to reflect on that when someone's gone, and it's like it's great, we could donate a bunch of stuff, but it's really interesting. So then that was January, and then March came along, and I felt, so basically from July to March, I probably cried every single day, at least most of the days. Not a lot. Like, it was just like a little cry on the way to the gym, or like a little cry on the way home. Like, not even, it just came out of me. It was like, oh, like, this is real. She's really not walking this earth anymore. And then it literally was just a couple minutes, and then I'd get on with my day. And then maybe in March I woke up or maybe in January it started to decrease. I literally noticed a pattern. It was like every day, maybe like 5 days a week, and went down to 3 days a week that I would cry. And then, or even this a couple months ago when I was in my apartment downtown, I had a moment and I was like, holy shit, I haven't cried in a long time. Like, this is amazing. Like, I'm so much better about this whole thing. Or I remember years ago, I literally cried every day. But it just felt like that was reality. And I kept telling myself, everything is temporary. You'll get through this. You'll be fine. Just imagine how you'll feel in 5-10 years. And then kind of bring that person to me now. Like, so throughout the process, that's why I did so much reflection, where I'd ask myself, what did I learn from this experience? Because I thought, okay, in 5 years, or who knows how long, I'll be fine and I'll have learned so much. So how can I bring that person to me now? What did I learn? And that's why I share and say have the best day of your life every day of your life, because it's truly so fragile, and you never know when the last day will be, or someone else's life that you love will be their last day, because that'll affect you. Who knows, even more. I don't know. So March comes along, and I woke up one day and I was like, it's gone. Like, this shadow over me of just sadness is gone. Like, I was still kind of sad, but it wasn't like this 24/7 thing on top of me the whole time, just sort of pushing me down. It's so weird to say it out loud now and to actually think about it, because I'm out of it and I'm on the other side and it feels so nice. But I actually never had this in-depth of a conversation with anyone, and apparently I still haven't, because I'm having it with myself. Oh god, I'm funny. But I think it's so important to share, because I also found over the past few years, I've connected so much more with people who've lost people, or just when someone loses someone, I feel it in my core, and I'm like, oh, my heart breaks for them, because I know what they're about to go through. Every situation is different, obviously, but I can understand that general, like, loss and grief, and it's so sad, and you're just dazed and confused for months. So in March, felt like this shadow was lifted off me, and I was like, oh my god, like, I'm good. Like, I'm not great, but I'm not like so sad all the time. Where I also think I started to develop almost like a social anxiety after she passed, because I remember I got home, and July 7th was one of my good friends at the time, her birthday, and she had birthday dinner, and I was like, oh my god, I can't go, because I'm just gonna cry. Like, if I have a drink, I will cry. Like, there's no control. Like, it'll just, and I didn't want to ruin her birthday and make it about me. Luckily, I got an audition the next day, so I went to the dinner, but I didn't stay long, and I didn't have a drink. And instead of having to be like, hey, yes, I'm grieving and it feels like I'm dying inside and I don't want to drink because I'm going to be uncontrollable, I could just say, I have an audition tomorrow, so I need to go to bed early. But yeah, so it's crazy. So then also from that situation, I look back at it now, and it's like, if someone was going through that, I would want them to be open with me and to just be honest of how they're feeling so I could support them. Like, even if it was my birthday, who gives a shit? Like, someone else is going through that. So then I recognized just how I am with friends, and it's like, be open and vulnerable, because if they're your true friends, they'll want to support you, and if they're not, then good to know, and you don't need to hang around. So I was just very cautious about when I went out with who, if I was drinking, and I had a drink with my boyfriend, but it was different because I could just cry with him and it was fine. But say in social settings, like I just didn't want to be that girl. I've never been that girl. I don't like all that. Like, yeah, okay, I'm myself and I attract attention, but not on purpose. And I never want it to be from a victim state too. So I probably went inward for a bit, for like a year or so. So then the next July comes around and I'm at the gym. And so March, July, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, all right, I'm getting better. This is great. July comes, Alexa, our family friend, best friend, childhood friend, texts me a article about her boyfriend committing suicide, like on her death anniversary. And it's like, what? Like, I was at the gym when I got this, and I remember just like crying while I was stretching and then being like, okay, I gotta stop crying before I get up and go. So when everyone's like, are you okay? One, I don't think he committed suicide. Anyways, that's something else. And two, it was like, really? Like, I'm still getting news? Like, if it's been a year and like we're still getting new information, because I guess for the first 6 months or so, we were trying to just figure out what happened. So it was like, you couldn't even really just accept the fact that she's gone. It was like, well, what happened? Like, I don't know. We were hearing so many different stories from people. I still don't know. And I have had to accept the fact that I'll never know the truth. We have our suspicions, but whatever. So then that kind of just like threw me back into it. And then I guess every February, her birthday, and every summer as her anniversary comes up, I start to feel down. Honestly, so many things, you just think about her and kind of get a little triggered, and then it's like, okay. Or even my birthday, I'm like, oh wow, I'm having another birthday. I'm so lucky to have another year. And then it kind of makes me sad. Or when I'm traveling the world, I'm like, oh my God, this is such an amazing life. I'm so blessed. And then it's bittersweet because it's like, oh, Al doesn't get to do this. Like, that's sad. And then even when I'm running, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so blessed to be able to run. And then sometimes I'll run harder because it's like, well, she can't do anything, so I'm going to do it all, and I'm going to do it all great because I can. So I'm going to give it my best effort. And that's one thing that I think you could go either way. You know, you kind of give up on life if you lose someone, or you could be a boss ass bitch. And I'm definitely the second one. So it motivates me a lot. When I'm running, I sprint, and I swear the days that I run the fastest are when I think about her and I'm like, oh my God, I miss you so much. I hope you're okay. Thank you for teaching me how precious life is. I'm going to basically die on this treadmill right now. Or some coping mechanisms, but also I use it as fuel. I actively bring her up when I'm at the gym or when I used to kickbox, because I would get a better workout in. It's like, I know it's kind of messed up to think about, but why let that experience go to waste? Why not use it to your best advantage? So when I would be at the Rumble, I probably looked crazy. I'd like go back into the back corner because there's 3 bags that nobody usually used, and they're like set up in this space where there's one in front and one on each side of you. And so I'd like punch in front, kick, side kick, whatever, all these things. I would actually visualize or like tell myself, okay, I don't want to freak you out, but I'd be like, you know, this is her murder. I don't know the story, but to be completely open and honest, that is one suspicion. We don't know what happened, so I don't know. But like, if that was a possibility, it'd be like, okay, this is that person, and I'm going to destroy them, and I'd have the best workout ever. It's so great. And then after a while, I'd imagine that, and then I didn't get the same workout because it didn't bother me as much. So it's like, okay, well, this is interesting too. I guess I'm healing from it more. Like, it just doesn't trigger me as much, or I can talk about things and it's fine. I realized I had never actually told the story, so I'm doing that now, which is actually fine. Like, I'm good. Because I think I've taken myself out of it so much that, or it's been enough time where now I can look back and it just seems it's such a surreal experience. So that was July. I guess it's been a few years. I did notice myself, like, wasn't as sad, or when I would cry, it was like every 3 days or maybe once a week. Then just on the way to the gym, I'd think about her, and not that I don't know, I guess crying is bizarre, but like tears would just stream down my face, and it's like, okay, that's that. Let it flow through me. That's one thing that I learned too so much over the past few years is I take a lot of pride in how in control of my emotions I am, which I think is great, but I also think at some point, I might have been ignoring them. Not ignoring them, but just like not allowing myself to feel a certain way because I thought it was unnecessary, but it is necessary. Oh, there's another thing I was going to say, but I forget. Oh yes, one time I had a dream about her. This was recently after her death, and I had this dream. We're at camp at the check-in, and I see her, and I'm like, Allexanne, what are you doing? Like, everyone thinks you're dead. And she just looked at me. She's like, oh, I've just been traveling. And I was like, what the heck? Like, everyone thinks you're dead. Like, Al, what are you doing? You should, like, do you understand what we've been going through? And she was just so like, oh, like, I've just been traveling. And then I woke up literally with tears streaming down my face and was like, oh, wow, I guess I knew, like, that wasn't real. But it felt so real, and I gave her a hug, and it just felt so real. It was so nice. So sometimes I think, okay, maybe it was her just being like, don't worry, I'm good. I've just been traveling, maybe not physically, but spiritually, she's just been traveling. Like, she's just moving around, having a time. So that took me a while to reflect on that, but that, I guess, dream was so vivid that it's so clear in my mind still. And it's given me some peace because I'm like, okay, she's good. Like, she told me she's good. I literally said, it wasn't even like a regular dream that had nothing to do with it. It was like very, about yeah. So that was that. So I've had a few dreams like that where basically she's like, I'm good. So I'm like, okay, good to know. We're all, super sad over here, but I'm glad you're having fun. So that kind of makes me wake up with a better perspective. And I think your dreams are so important to remember. And I try to write down my dreams every night if I remember them. Or sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just be like, write it down. Even if it's super messy, you never know what it's telling you. I really do believe your dreams speak to you. It's not even a belief. Like, I just know it. So I think you should too. And yeah, so we didn't get to have a funeral. She was also cremated, which she's Jewish, so that's not nice. So that was one thing that, because so much, like, there was so much happening that year. Like, we didn't have a ceremony of life literally until the next July in 2020. And then it was COVID, and it was like, oh my God, I just like want to have a little gathering to like respect her. There's one more thing. Oh well, so that was that. And then the art show came around just this past May, and I swear, like a week before, I had been like, wow, I've been so good. I'm really not affected. This doesn't affect my day-to-day life, or like really. I'm really good. This is so great. I'm so happy. Like, I am what I imagined years ago of how I would feel in a couple of years. And it's like, I'm now in that space, and I'm so grateful for it. But I also don't want to forget how I felt, because it was such a good learning experience. And then the art show came around, and I was probably sleep deprived, super stressed out. I just ran a marathon. Like, it's the busiest, most stressful week of the year for us. And Saturday morning, I woke up and it was hysterical. I could not stop bawling. I literally couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe. It was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I called my sister and I was like, Tish, like, I'm not okay. Like, Alexanne's just on my mind and I just, like, I can't handle this. Like, I don't know what to do. Oh, it makes me emotional. And she's like, that's okay. Like, that's just how it happens. Sometimes it just hits you like a brick wall. Because I was like, I don't understand. Like, I've been good for so long. And then I realized it was like, oh, okay, maybe now those like periods, I said I cried like every day before, and then it was a couple days a week, and then once a week, and then once a month, and maybe it's like, okay, now maybe it's only once a year or something, and then eventually it'll be like every 5 years, and then I don't know, but that hit me like a brick wall. It was absurd. I literally was just like sitting in the bathroom, like I couldn't even stand. And then I went outside to the balcony to at least like get some fresh air and look at this beautiful view. And then I was like, oh my God, this beautiful apartment, this beautiful view. I'm so lucky. And she's gone. And it's whatever. And my sister was like, just breathe, just breathe. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go to the show with puffy eyes and I'm teaching an art class. And, it's like the end of the world. But then you get over it and all is well. So, yeah, it really doesn't take that long. Like, yes, for every day for the first year, perhaps, it seems like it's the absolute end of the world. But it's been, 3 or 4 years now? And I'm pretty good. Sometimes I get really sad, but I think because I've reflected on it so much to be so grateful for the experience, because even my mom was like, wow, like, you guys have had a lot of death at a really young age. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't have to really go through that until now, because all of her family members are dying. And she was like, sorry, you have to go through that. And it was like, well, that's okay, whatever. This is the way it is. I'm gotta be grateful for it somewhere or the other. And then I think I'm actually so lucky. It sucks, and I don't want this to come off in the weird way, but because that's the reality, I'm learning from it. And because it happened so young, I feel like, I said this last week, I feel like I'm not a fool, and I'm not going to be foolish or not register the fact that life is so precious. And I feel like a lot of people around me not necessarily waste time, but don't take life that seriously. And I know you should be, have fun, but like, don't you want to have the best possible life? And that involves work. But if you do the work into figuring out how you want to spend your life, then it's work, but it's like purposeful work. So I feel like I've had so much motive to reflect, that I know what I want. I know like where my life is going, and I love putting in the work, and I love reflecting on my experiences. And what I took away from this is that I will never take advantage of my time or be ungrateful for this moment. Like, even, my whole life could be different in an hour from now. Like, you could get news in an hour, and then boom, everything's done, basically, is what it feels like. It's like, all right, so for this moment, like today, right now, not even the whole day, just right now, enjoy it. So I tried so hard when I was grieving. I'd be crying to myself, and I'd be like, enjoy it, Sky, like, enjoy the ups and the downs. You're not gonna, eventually this down is gonna pass, and it's gonna be high. And my sister and I also think I think we have such a good life, because sometimes it's really low. Like, the lows are low, and then the highs are high, because the lower you go, the higher you bounce. So I feel like it's a wave, the deeper the swells, the higher the wave. I don't know my wave terminology, but you know what I mean. So in regards to my mom basically feeling bad that we had to experience that at such a young age, it was like, you know what, I'm actually really grateful, because now I know this now, and I'm not going to waste time till I'm 50 and then start my life, or then understand the fragility of life. It's like, I understand it now, and I'm not wasting a moment, and I run through life, and sometimes I go back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, slow down, just relax and enjoy it. But then I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I want to do, and everything's so great, and So that's the little dance that I work with for myself. But why I share so much is because I don't want anyone else to wait to have to experience this for themselves to understand how precious life is. Like, learn from me, learn from someone else who's gone through this grief and just horrific, feelings. Like, you feel so sick, you want to puke. Another thing, I was at the gym. Well, I'm always at the gym, but that first couple months, and I put my arm, like my hand, I'd put it up, and I move it out, and then I bring it closer. And because I felt so disconnected from the world, it was like, am I here? Do people see me, or am I just sort of like floating? Like, what's happening right now? So I would literally move my hand from closer to my body, farther away from my body, to see if I could feel it, like, go through a bubble. Like, like, I felt just so disconnected. It was wild. You're so dazed and confused. It's just crazy. Anyways, don't waste time. Live your best life. Be grateful for everyone. Because imagine, I know it's kind of a dark thought, but I always imagine, like, if this was my last word to someone, I want to tell them I love them, or I want it to be on a positive note, or in a really bizarre way. It's probably why I document life so much, because I'm so grateful for the few videos that I have. Like, we have a lot of childhood videos, but I didn't take as many, well, before this, really. Like, I took some videos, but not to the extent that I do now. But I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful for that video of her laughing. Like, I miss her so much, and I just want to hear her laugh. So, in a very bizarre way, I take a lot of videos now, because it's like, oh my God, this person passes, I want to remember them. It's really messed up, I know, but whatever. I feel like I document life, and people appreciate it, and they're like, oh, I'd never do it, but I'm grateful you do. Like, oh, you don't know the reasons why, but now you do. Full open book here for you. I just think it's important to share, because what's the point of experiencing things if you can't help others through it? So, live your best life. Have the best day of your life every single day. People think that's an absurd thing to think because it's so optimistic and this and that. And it's like, I don't get into it, because then they'd be like, holy shit, you're crazy. But it's like, okay, but if you die tomorrow, you'd understand. Like, you'd make today, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, you'd make today the best day ever. Like, that's not absurd. And I guess that's the underlying thought behind me. I know I'm going to live for a long time because I'm healthy, unless something crazy happens. But I do really think that I will have a long life, and it'll be great. But I don't expect that. I don't expect anything. I appreciate this moment. I hope that I have a long life, and I'm sure I will. And I want to have a huge influence and impact on the world and help so many people. And it's like, well, I hope I have time, and I will keep working for my massive goals. But in the meantime, I'm going to really push hard for these smaller goals right now and, like, achieve my daily habits, because that's the only thing you can have control of. Anyways, happy Saturday, lovers. I hope you enjoyed this TED Talk in the bathtub tonight. Maybe because water is super calming and healing, and I feel comfortable. But I hope you have the best day, best night, and appreciate your life and your loved ones, and know that I love you. Thanks.